This lens is so hard to keep clean because I can't put a filter on it. It's like so bulgy, and I am so worried I'm going to get a scratch on it like I did on my other lens on the front element. Oh my gosh, it is raining super hard outside. But let's get into today's topic, which is one I know you were looking forward to, because I really struggled with this when I first started out in photography. And it's, what lens should you use? Specifically today I'm going to talk about what lens you should use for landscape photography. And the short answer, so if you don't want to watch the rest of this video, the short answer is just use the lens that you've got. That lens will be perfectly fine for landscape photography. You can take an awesome landscape photo with any lens, because you know what they say, that a good photographer doesn't blame their equipment. I may have done that a couple of times, but don't tell anyone. So yeah, you can just use the lens you've got. That keeps it super simple, and it makes you get creative. So who knows, you might get a super awesome shot because it forced you to be more creative with what you've got. But anyway, if you are looking at getting a specific look to your landscapes, then in my eyes you really have three different options. And the first is a wide angle lens, the second is a telephoto lens, and the third is kind of like an in-between lens. So it can do it's kind of wide and it's kind of telephoto, but it's not like, it doesn't go to one extreme or the other, it's kind of in the middle. So I'll start with the wide angle lens. So my wide angle is a Sigma 12 to 24. I don't know if you can see that. I love this lens. It goes super wide, and I actually don't think I would like it to be any wider because it does start getting a little bit distorted when it's at its widest, which is 12 millimeters. But a wide angle lens is really cool because you can get super close to subjects in your foreground, include them in the foreground of your landscape really easily, and you can get like a really different perspective than what your eye is used to seeing, which can make a really cool photo. So that is the wide angle. Most landscapes you've probably seen are wide angle lenses. Well, a shot with wide angle lenses, I should say. Next I'll talk about telephoto. I actually don't have a telephoto lens, but it is something that I am looking at getting just to kind of add a different perspective into my photos, because you can get really different kind of landscape photography images with a telephoto. It's not often like the first lens people will think of when they think of shooting landscapes, but in my opinion that's a good thing, because then you're shooting something that not everyone else is shooting, and it will be unique and different and eye-catching. So what is a telephoto? The most common telephoto lens I would say that people use is a 70 to 200 mm lens. And with that lens you'll be able to really zoom into things in the distance, which is really great if, like me, you really wanted to shoot the blood moon the other night, and you don't want it to end up as a tiny speck. And it's also great if you want to like make your background bigger in your frame, because often with a wide angle lens everything in the background looks really tiny. So it might look really cool when you're looking at these like huge mountains and stuff in real life, but then you take a photo with your super wide angle lens and the mountains look really unimpressive and tiny. So that's where the telephoto is really good. you can get like a bit of landscape in the foreground, and then those mountains are going to look really big in the background. Okay, so that's telephoto lens. I don't want to confuse you, but if you're looking at a telephoto and you want to get like, you want to zoom in really close, then I would probably look at like a 600mm, which is actually what I want to get next, so I can shoot that beautiful blood moon and not have it as a tiny speck next time. And the third lens I was going to talk about is a lens that I own, and it's kind of a middle of the road lens. Like it is wide, it's also a little bit telephoto, but it's not, you know, like wide or like really you can zoom in a lot in the details. So my lens is a Canon 24-105, which I'm actually filming with right now. And I guess it's quite a versatile lens for if you kind of shoot a little bit of everything. When I was back in the Air Force, myself and some others kind of called this our workhorse lens. Like that was the lens, if you could only choose one lens, you'd probably take that lens because it does a little bit of everything. So you can get wide angle and you can zoom in a little bit, and I guess it's good for landscapes because you can get wide and get some landscape in the foreground, like, I don't know, rocks or flowers, and you can like get that cool perspective a bit wider than what you can actually see with your naked eye. And yeah, it's not super wide, but it's wide enough to like get enough in the shot that you want, if you know what I mean. And you can zoom into 105, so if you do want to make the stuff in the background a little bit bigger, or you want to zoom in on some details, like it kind of can do that a little bit, but it's not super great at it because it's not like zooming in like super far, if you know what I mean. Mostly I use that lens for wide angle if I want wide angle, but I don't want it like super wide. But wait, there is more. There's one more thing you have to think about when you're choosing a lens, and that is the size of the sensor in your camera, because that makes a difference. So if I have, say, a 50mm lens, what I see when I take a photo is going to look different on a full frame sensor as opposed to a cropped sensor. So full frame is like larger and cropped sensor smaller, so that makes sense. Did I explain that well? So crop sensor is going to be more narrow view, and a full frame sensor is going to give you more of a wide angle view. Okay, and what if you're asking what cameras have a full frame sensor and what have a crop sensor, then the short answer is usually more kind of professional cameras have a full frame sensor, and cheaper, more like lower, I don't want to say like beginner cameras, but it's kind of like cheaper beginner cameras, they have crop sensors. So I guess you can kind of tell by the price. If it's more expensive, probably full frame. If it's less expensive, probably crop sensor. But just like Google it. Like that's what you do these days, right? If you don't know, like just Google the camera you're interested in. Does this camera have a full frame sensor? And if you're choosing between getting a camera with a crop sensor or a full frame sensor, I would definitely go full frame every time, because I like taking wide angle photos the best, and it gives me the most widest photos possible. I just hit my finger on the desk. So that is it. To summarize, there are 3 lenses I would recommend. Well, firstly though, just start with the lens you've got. Otherwise, if you're looking for a specific look, go for a wide angle lens, which could be a 12-24, something in that range. A telephoto lens if you want that huge moon, or you want to zoom in on some detail in the mountains or something in the distance. And that's probably going to be like a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. Oh my gosh, my phone is going crazy. Sorry. Thirdly is the lens that's kind of in the middle. It's kind of like a little bit of everything, but not super good at either thing. I mostly use it as a wide angle, and that for me is a 24 to 105. So there you go. 3 options, but the best option is just to stick with what you've got for now, play around, see what you can get, and don't forget to think about what sensor your camera has, what size it is. Thanks so much for watching, and if you are interested in learning a bit more about landscape photography, I have an awesome guide linked down below in the description, so please check that out. It is free, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button and like this video. Have a great day.